Hello everyone, my name is Cadet Captain Dong and I'm the CEO for this school year. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to do female hair. So there are two main methods that you can do. One of them is much more easier than the other, but I'll go over both today. So the first step to doing female hair is making sure that you have a slick back ponytail. So what you're going to do is you can either take some water or hair oil. I use both depending on whatever day it is. And I also recommend not washing your hair the night before to make sure that it's still oily. Now, I washed my hair yesterday, so we're just going to pretend that my hair is naturally oily. And we're just going to spread that through my hair. So after this, you're going to want to spray some water in your hair just to make sure it's damp and there's going to be minimal flyaways. Okay. We'll focus on the ends of my hair later. Let's just first get the top base slick. So after your hair has water inside of it and it's oily hopefully from the night before, you're going to want to take some gel. Any type of gel works. This is just the one that I found online when I started my freshman year. And you're basically just going to want to take a glob of gel. You're going to want to kind of rake it through your hair, making sure that it covers everything. So what I like to do is I like to put it in the front of my hair and just spread it out. So what you're going to be left with is a very smooth base, but as you can see, there may be some small bumps like right here, and right here. So what I recommend is taking a boar bristle brush. I think you can find these at Target. That's at least where I got mine. And it's very handy for making sure that your hair is super duper smooth. On normal uniform days, you can choose to have parts or not a part. You can choose to have a side part. It doesn't really matter as long as your hair is as slick back as possible. So, another thing to note is that as you're slicking back your hair, some people have the issue of right over here, they're going to have a bunch of baby hairs. It's hard for flyaways. So what I like to do at this step is take a little bit of gel and just gel the baby hairs like this. And then as I'm making sure my ponytail is slicked back, I'm going to take my brush. I'm just going to slick it up like that. So it will make it easier down the road when you're trying to deal with these flyaways. And don't worry if this process takes a bit. Usually it takes me at least 10 minutes in the morning just to make sure that everything is slicked down to my preference. And if at any time you feel like there's some small bumps in your hair, you can also go ahead with some more gel, just slather the gel on your hair. And you can also go in with some water to make sure that your hair stays down. Ultimately, you just have to play around with it a little bit and just figure out what works best for your hair type. This is what I think is the best based on the 4 years that I've been in this program, or 3 years now that I've been in this program. So after you have a ponytail or a slickness that you like, you're just going to tie it off like a regular ponytail. However, when you're making your ponytail, make sure it's not too high because that would interfere with the cover and it's just going to make it look very weird overall. What I like to do, usually I make my ponytails here, but I go lower than actual just because it won't be a big hassle down the line. Okay, so now you have your standard base slick back ponytail, and that's going to be what you're going to use for a lot of these hairstyles. So the very first hairstyle is quite easy. What you're going to do is you're going to split your ponytail in half. So I have two right here. Then you're going to make sure that your ends are wet so that you will reduce the amount of flyaways. So what I like to do is I like to spray a bunch of water on it, making sure that it's saturated, and then try to slightly comb it out, that way it's not too bad. Then you're going to take more gel. You're going to find that throughout this process you do use quite a lot of gel. And you're just going to slick it down. Now you're just going to braid. So what I like to do is I take one side and I split it into threes. Then I'm just going to braid as normal. And during this part, you can add gel along as you go. So you can see that some of the parts of my hair is becoming very rough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gel that part down before I braid it. That way I can reduce the amount of flyaways and reduce the amount of points deducted during my inspection. Then after you finish braiding one side down, you're going to take these mini rubber bands. You should find a rubber band that is close to your hair color. So for me, I just use black mini hair ties. And you're going to tie it off. You can either choose to braid very close down or up. It just depends on your overall hair. I have a little bit of layers in my hair, so that makes it kind of difficult. So I'm just going to do the same thing to the opposite side. Okay, so I have finished the other side, and I'm just going to tie it off with the same black rubber band. Okay, now that you have reached this point, it just becomes a lot easier in the end. So what you're going to need are U-pins, and you can just buy these off of Amazon, I think in large quantities. It just makes it a lot easier to pin your hair, and it reduces the amount of tension on your hair. So what I like to do is take a couple of your U-pins, and what you're going to do is basically twist and wrap it around itself. So I'm going to try to make sure that my two braids are following the same direction. And once I reach this one point of the loop, I'm going to take a U-pin and just pin it down. I know that there's a little tail here, but I just want to make sure that both ends are secure before I make sure there are no flyaways at all. So then I take another pin and I just pin the top down. From here, I'll just continue pinning until I feel like there's no major flyaways from these. I try to tuck it underneath the actual bun, like the nice part, to try to make sure that's not sticking out. And of course, I'll pin this side, but for the sake of time, we're gonna kind of rush through this. And then from here, there's sometimes some flyaways, no matter how hard you pin. So you can take some gel and also gel it down. And then finally, what you want to do is you want to give everything a good hairspray to make sure it's locked in. So personally, I find that my sideburns right here always have mini flyaways, no matter how much gel I put in. So what I like to do is I like to actually gel it again on both sides. And I'll take some hairspray and I'll just spray the targeted areas. So because right here I know that's where my flyaways are, I'm going to spray a lot of hairspray on that one area. And I'll do the same to the other side. Usually for the top, I get flyaways right here, so I'm going to spray the top to make sure that there are no flyaways. And for the bottom, it helps that I use gel at the beginning, but let's say that no matter what, your flyaways are still there. Then what I like to do is take a piece of string, and you're going to put some gel again on your fingers, and you're just going to rub that gel in like this, kind of like you're just cleaning something, like using a cloth. And then you're going to take your string and you're going to bring it down, then up, and pull away. So as you can see, that kind of made my flyaways disappear. And then you're going to take some hairspray and just hairspray the back. And then you should be good to go for the first hairstyle. This is a hairstyle I would typically do for uni days just because it's quicker in the morning. But I'll show you another hairstyle that is better for days of like AMI, like our annual military inspection. So for this, you would need a donut. They come in a lot of different sizes, and I always prefer to get one that is bigger than you actually need. So when you first get it in the mail, this is what you're going to get. It's just a regular old like spongy type of texture. However, I found it very beneficial to wrap a sock around it. That way you kind of get the smooth texture, which will be important down the road. How you basically do this is quite literally a black sock that I cut up because I couldn't find the other pair. And then you just wrap it around itself so it's really, really tight. Let me first take out this hair and then I can show you guys.
One eternity later.
Okay, so we're back at the slick back pony, but as you can see here, my hair is like a little bit loose just because I had to use some tension to take it down. So what I'm actually going to do is redo the pony, because when you do this type of bun, you want to make sure that you have a very nice pony and that it's not going to like fly all over the place. This is like your base for the later bun, and if you screw up this part, it's going to be very difficult down the road. So again, I'm doing the same process. I'm just taking my boar bristle brush and brushing it through my hair. There's already a lot of product in here in my opinion, so I'm not going to add any more, but feel free to do whatever you see fit for your hair. Everyone's hair is different and it'll just take some time for you to learn it by yourself. Okay, I think this is good for now. So I'm going to take my hair tie and I'm just going to tie it down. What I like to do is actually take another hair tie, just because I'm scared of this base moving. I always like to double up, but it's up to you. Just personal preference. Okay, so now that my hair is tied up, and remember that you want your pony to not be super duper high, especially for this hairstyle because it will interfere with your cover. After this, you're just simply going to loop the donut through your hair. So I'm going to take the place where I tied my ponytail, the hair bands, and I'm just going to use that as a way to pull all my hair through this bun. Like so. And you're basically left with this donut bead and this hair. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky, especially if this is your first time. It's going to take a lot of practice. What you want to do is kind of lean your head down so that you can spread your hair all throughout the bun. Let me grab my hair ties ready. And for this, you can, to make sure to secure the bun, I usually use a small hair tie like this, but I do find that it can be a little bit painful for all the uniform days. Or I can use one of the normal hair ties like to tie your hair with. You just might need to double up to make sure it doesn't move around. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna bring your head down, and you're just going to play around with your hair. You want to make sure that your hair covers every single portion of this donut. So let's say that you accidentally miss a spot. It's really good that you have a donut that is close to your actual hair color. So I'm just going to wrap my hair around, and I'm going to spray some water and put some gel on just so that this will lay as flat and as smooth as possible. And you're just gonna play around with it. You can even use your brush, your boar bristle brush, on either side actually, and just try to smooth it down. This will take practice. Like I said, I think it took me a whole year of doing this on every single uniform day in order to be decently good at it. And as you're doing this, you can feel towards the middle and feel any hairs that are not falling in place. For instance, like I could do this and I see, oh, this hair should have been somewhere else. You really just want this to look kind of like a glazed donut, I can't lie. Okay, I think this is pretty decent. So what I would do now is I'm going to take a hair tie and I'm just going to, this is kind of where it also gets tricky. You're kind of do this motion with your fingers and you're just going to bring it down. You're going to go like this to spread it out, then place it down on your hair. So like I said, I'm going to go like that. I'm going to try to reach the entire donut, making sure there are no bumps. And I'm just going to roll it down basically. Now, the hard part about this is that, see, right over here, I have a little loose spot, which is not good, meaning I have to redo my bun all over again. But for the most part, I think it's decently smooth, which is eventually what you want. So let me fix that. And you're just going to feel around a lot of times. So once again, I'm going to do that same motion. Just going to roll it down. Okay. And for this part, I like to use 2 ponytailed hair ties as well, just because it gives me more security. Okay, after I finish that part, I'm going to take some hairspray and hairspray this down so it doesn't move. Be generous with the hairspray. Okay, now I look like a lion with its mane on its head. It's kind of crazy, but don't worry about it. So what I like to do from this part is you're going to want to braid these hair into individual sections, or that's at least how I do it. So I kind of split it in two, and based on the thickness of your hair, you decide how many braids you need. For me, I always do an even number of braids. That way when I wrap it around, one side doesn't stick out noticeably more than the other. For my hair, I typically do about 4 braids. So I split it in two as usual. And since there are shorter pieces of my hair, I try to group them together. So these are my longer pieces and these are my shorter pieces. What I like to do is keep the longer pieces in my mouth as I'm braiding the shorter pieces, just so it's easier. It doesn't look pretty, but that's okay. Okay, before you braid, like the previous one, you have to use water and gel. Sometimes I like to use a hair mask just so that my hair isn't as damaged when I wash it out. And I sometimes treat the hair mask exactly as gel. So I would just like rub it in like this and spray some water on it. While you're doing this, it's really important to make sure that your base ponytail is tight, or your base bun area. If it's not tight, what could happen is that as you're braiding, the bun slowly becomes loose, and then you'll have to restart all over, and it's just kind of frustrating at the end of the day. Okay, so once I have braided, I'm going to use the small elastic like I did before, and I'm just going to tie it off. And honestly, you're just going to have to rinse and repeat for however many sections you do for your hair. That's why I said this hairstyle takes a little bit more time, because you have so many little braids you have to do. Oh, sometimes what I like to do, if this piece you see is too short to hold in my mouth, I would pull it over on the other side and just pin it in place so I could deal with it later, just so it's easier for me to deal with this section, which is the one that I'm supposed to be braiding right now. And this time I'm just going to use gel to show you. See, when I pull it, sometimes my bun will get a little bit loose. So you have to be careful, but you also have to make sure to apply tension as you're braiding the hair so it doesn't become too loose. And again, with the previous hairstyle, you still want to apply gel to every single section to make sure there's as minimal flyaways as possible. So if you're like me and you see you have these flyaways right here, what I would do is undo the braid and re-braid it with gel inside. That way it doesn't stick out. But because this video is just for demonstration, just pretend I did that and everything is okay. Alternatively, what you can do is use gel on the outside like you see what I just did, and it kind of disappeared, but it's not a long-term solution, so I don't recommend that. And once again, for this side, I'm going to separate out the shorter pieces, which seem to be about right here, and I'm going to hold the longer pieces in my mouth just so I can make sure my full attention is on this section. Okay, so now I'm done with all 4 sections. Granted, they aren't the best braids that I do, but they'll pass. When you're braiding, make sure it's very important to have this top side of your braid be very tight. See, mine is kind of loose right now, and you're going to see this when I start wrapping my hair around. It's going to it doesn't look the nicest. So for this hairstyle, I usually use a couple of bobby pins or U-pins, just because it takes a lot. So you're gonna look at your braids and see which one do you like the most. For me, I think I usually choose the thickest braids. So for instance, these braids are kind of smaller, so they'll go underneath, and these 2 braids are kind of thicker, so they're gonna go on top. And you could choose whatever direction you want to wrap it to, and you're just gonna bring it around your bun like this. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure it's tight. If it's too loose, it's going to end up building over time, and it's not going to look the best. So what I like to do, like the before buns, I just take one and I try to pin it down in place. I don't worry too much about the ends because I know I can fix it later. Okay, so then you're just gonna play around with this a lot, and it's gonna take a couple of times until you figure out what's best for your hair. But you're just gonna kind of stick pins in random places and pray that it holds. Ideally, the U-pins should not hurt your hair at all if placed properly. If you feel like a sharp jab through your skull, then you need to move your U-pin because that pain is not going to disappear at all. It's going to haunt you for the entire day. Okay, I'm just going to stop here right now just because of time. So as you can see, I wrapped the hair around the bun itself and I pinned it in place. Normally for these bottom flyaways, I would pin them more and gel it to make sure that it doesn't show up during the uniform day, but for right now I think it'll pass. Once again, you can see after I did all that, my bottom hairs are still loose, right? So we're going to use a string again. You're going to take gel, put it on the bottom of your hair, and you're going to just go up like that. Now, if your hair does not have these flyaways like mine right now, I'll pin it. You can see that it's really easy to get all the hair to swoop up underneath. And once again, you're going to want to hairspray it just to make sure it doesn't move at all. Yeah. So basically, to summarize, for this type of hair, you want to make sure no flyaways. You want this bun part to be really smooth, and this little straggly tails here, you don't want. Just for the sake of this video and the sake of time, I'm just going to leave it like that. But ideally on uniform days, you don't want it. And again, if you choose to do this hairstyle and you have like little flyaways right here or right here, I would want you to gel it. Pull your hair back, gel it down, and you guessed it, use hairspray. And that's basically how you do a really good or passing bun for inspection. During uniform days, I recommend that you guys carry like a small tub of gel. This is like value size or something, I don't know. But they come in smaller gels, and just keep it in your backpack. Right before inspection, if you have some little flyaways right here, like even if I hairspray it a lot, I'll still get a little bit of flyaways right there. I could just gel it down real quick and I won't get point stalked off. If throughout the day you see that you have some flyaways, you can ask your friends to use the gel and just gel it down for you. Also, if your baby hairs just won't stay up, no matter how many times you use a string, gel, and hairspray, this is when I would recommend you get some bobby pins, and you're just going to basically pin your hair up. So I'm just, pretend these are my baby hairs. I'm just going to pin it down so that it looks less noticeable, and you're not going to get dock out points for that. Yeah, I hope this has helped you guys, and if you have any questions, you could always contact me. I'm always free to talk with everyone. Yeah, thank you guys. Bye-bye.